I want to begin with a phrase that I wish someone had said to me years ago. A phrase that I hope each of you will remember. You are not broken. Maybe you just cringed a little when I said that, right? Maybe you don't believe me or believe it. Maybe, like me, you've spent years convinced that something within you is fundamentally flawed. That you're a little too anxious, a little too sensitive, maybe somehow just too much. For so long, I lived with this haunting question of what's wrong with me. And it colored every accomplishment and relationship that I had. As a nervous system practitioner, I see this belief that there's something wrong with me in each of the hundreds of clients that I have worked with. They come to me convinced that they're broken, and this seeps into everything: their relationships, their health, their career, and their hope for their future. Sometimes it's not just discouraging, it's paralyzing. I've watched people give up on themselves because they believe they're beyond repair. If you see yourself in that story, you're not alone. I know what it's like to feel stuck. Before I became a practitioner, I faced my own health collapse. One moment, I'm out at a bar with friends after work, laughing, having a great time. 2 days later, I'm bedridden, unable to muster the energy to even brush my teeth or to shower. Yeah, just like that. The pressure to perform had caught up to me, and my nervous system said, enough. A month later, I embarked on a nearly year-long emergency medical leave. I call it my Eat, Pray, Love nervous system journey, a time when I was desperately trying to feel better, going nearly $200,000 in debt on treatments. And here's the catch. While some approaches helped, many actually left me feeling worse. About halfway through my journey, I was no longer just trying to heal from my past. I was trying to heal from the constant push to heal. I became a project instead of a person. But new science, it gives us a lifeline. Not so long ago, scientists believed that our brains were fixed, that we were born with a set number of neural pathways that with age just kind of wore out. Fundamental change was impossible. Then, in the 1950s, a seismic discovery that changed everything arrived: neuroplasticity. Suddenly, we knew that our brains could rewire and adapt at any age. So change wasn't just possible, it was the default. In other words, you are never stuck. Now we're seeing another seismic shift: our understanding of the nervous system. Over the past few decades, researchers like Bessel van der Kolk, Richard Schwartz, and Peter Levine have suggested that trauma and mental health, they're not just psychological, but deeply physiological. Our nervous system is always scanning for threats. Can you guess roughly how many times over a 12-hour period? I'm going to tell you. Research suggests roughly 200,000, about 4 times per second, that we are scanning per threat. So it's wired for survival. It's not wired for happiness. And so what looks like anxiety, shutting down, self-sabotage, is really your body trying to keep you safe. You're not broken, you're protected. The idea of brokenness and other limiting beliefs that promote this harmful narrative that we are in need of fixing can create a frayed self-concept, an ongoing sense of unsafety within ourselves. And no matter what external security we achieve, the house, the career, the family, we cannot outrun a nervous system that believes we are our own greatest threat. These advances in nervous system research suggest that it's time to reevaluate some of our most accepted beliefs about healing. And so I want to walk you through a few of these beliefs, at least when considered absolute, that come up over and over, not just in my work, but everywhere I look. We're taught to believe that procrastination, avoidance, showing up late, picking fights, right? These are all signs of self-sabotage. Yet beginning with studies out of Duke University in 1978, research suggests that these are actually acts of self-protection, a way to avoid the pain of disappointment or the terror of failure. Maybe you have pulled an all-nighter before a big deadline, setting yourself up for failure not because you're lazy, but because doing less than your best gives you an excuse if things don't go perfectly. Or maybe you avoid applying for jobs that you want because the idea of rejection, it feels unbearable. When we label ourselves as self-sabotaging, we take on the idea that we are our own worst enemy. But you are not your own worst enemy. You are protected. Belief number 2, healing is a straight line. You move forward, absolutely no backsliding. But research on neuroplasticity and post-traumatic growth challenges this. Change happens in unpredictable, non-linear ways. The nervous system can reorganize and adapt, and what feels like a setback can actually be a sign of new growth. Researchers out of Dartmouth Medical School, University of Michigan, and many others suggest that destabilization can precede breakthroughs in healing and often does. The loosening of old patterns, even if it feels really chaotic, it can be a necessary step for our transformation. So maybe you've woke up one morning after a string of good days and you're like, man, I am absolutely back at square one. But you're not. You haven't failed, you haven't backslid, you're human, and your nervous system is still adapting. While many of us grow up believing that certain emotions, joy, love, hope, these are good to be embraced, while others, anger, sadness, fear, these are bad and they should be avoided. Belief number 3. How many of us have felt guilty for feeling sad at a party or ashamed for getting angry at someone that we care about? But what if emotions are neither positive nor negative? What if they're signals? Neuroscientist Lisa Barrett's research suggests that emotions are constructed by the brain based on context, history, and physiological state. They're tools, not verdicts. Feeling anger or fear doesn't mean that you are failing at life or at mental health. These emotions are information, messages from our nervous system. And what matters is how we respond to these emotions, not that we feel them. These moments, they don't mean that we're flawed, that we're broken. They mean that we're alive. And let's move to belief number 4. We've all heard it. Just talk it out. You'll feel better, right? Call that friend, rant about it, vent about it. And while talking absolutely works for some, it isn't always the answer, especially when it comes to trauma. Trauma can disrupt brain function, making it difficult to access logic or rational thinking when we're triggered. Research out of the University of Rochester, Ohio State, and others suggests that talking about trauma can sometimes make things worse. It can reinforce a sense of helplessness, and it can even re-traumatize the nervous system. For many, healing requires more than words. It requires working with the body and the nervous system directly. Subconscious modalities, movement, somatic therapies, these approaches can help to re-regulate the nervous system, and they can be more effective than or complementary to just talking it out. So maybe you've gone to therapy and you felt frustrated when it didn't bring the relief that you were expecting. Or maybe you've opened up to a friend only to feel more overwhelmed rather than calm. But this doesn't mean that you are beyond help. It just means your nervous system may need different tools. And here's a big one. Belief number 5, this one always got me. The healing journey never ends. For years, the dominant model cast achieving mental health as this lifelong struggle. All mental diagnoses were only manageable, not reversible. But new research challenges this. It suggests that mental health is dynamic, it is responsive to intervention, and it is sensitive to social and environmental factors. People can, and they do, recover fully. Even with addiction, especially alcohol abuse, many people kick the habit spontaneously without formal treatment. And studies out of Norway suggest that even cognitive impairments associated with depression can be reversed. New research suggests that we can actually reach a point where we don't have to focus on healing all the time. That we can reach a place where healing is no longer our whole story. That we can feel safe enough, present enough, calm enough to just live. I see this every single day in my work as a nervous system practitioner. If you become convinced that you'll always struggle, you might stop hoping for real change. So what does this mean for us? It means we should consider treating nervous system regulation, movement, subconscious work, somatic healing as part of mainstream health practices. And it means we should re-examine the stories that we tell about mental health, and we should listen to the science. Our behaviors, they're fundamentally protective. Working with the subconscious and with the body, we can build a future where people don't spend their lives fighting themselves, but instead learn to work with the brilliant adaptive systems inside of them. A future where everyone has access to the tools that help them feel safe, strong, and whole. So you are not broken. You never were. Thank you. This one.